like we're not. It is not like a formal like. Hello, well, I'm going to talk about you now, Kareen. But it's like it is interesting to say like for me to hear that you have almost like this fear of like stepping into a spotlight blows my mind because you are the spotlight in my head. Like all the years knowing you, like again, I think back about my bar mitzvah, and I think of like you dancing. Like maybe that's weird that that's my memory, but I have pictures of you like dancing, and I remember the video. Like you own that space. Like wherever you are, there you are.
I got to see that video. And I do remember your bar mitzvah like really well. It was amazing. It was one of the really fun times. That and your sister's wedding were like the best. I've never been to a wedding as fun as your sister's to this day. But
Me
okay, go
too.
ahead.
I got married in 2011. I mean, divorced recently, but like I know that was the best wedding I've ever been to. My sister's.
Best wedding to this day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, that's a lie. Actually, I went to a wedding in Florida a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago where I sat at table number five and got hammered. I was my sister's plus one, and that was the best wedding I've ever been to. Actually, it was the most.
That
It
was
was on
fun
a
too.
boat. That was your wedding.
Yeah, that was my wedding. Yes, yes, that was very fun. Good times, good times.
But now that you're talking about it though, like when I think of you, like I think of like how like wherever you were, there you were for sure. Like you were always like you always seemed to be comfortable in your skin. But you're right, like you never detracted from anyone, and you are one of those people that like you easily could have turned, like you easily could have turned the entire room to be all like focused on you, like you like. I always had this like, idea. I don't know why, but like back in the day, I was like, oh, she should host like her own show on MTV. You know, like I was like Jenny McCarthy style. Like I was like, that is
That's
Korean.
my dream. That was my dream. That was my dream.
Is or
But
was.
but I'm finally doing it now. Like it didn't work out in my 20s, but now in my 40s, it's like they're contacting me from Telemundo in Miami. I'm on this, they just asked me to like host a radio show now, like every week on Friday.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, like I'm on TV locally here in Spain, like all the time. Every time there's some kind of event, they call me and they have me come in. So yeah, it's like it's happening in my 40s, but it didn't happen in my 20s. So it's really weird.
So did you have that thing? This is what I'm so curious about. Because like I always in my head again, you always were the one that made it. Like in every you evolved so beautifully in life and like in your career and like I remember being at your office on LaSalle. Was it LaSalle? Like I feel like
Yes, you remember everything so well.
was it
Yeah.
Latin
Wow, you
Choice Entertainment, right?
Latin choice, baby. Yeah, LCE.
LC, was that your first business? Like I remember like
Yes,
okay,
that
actually
was my
here,
first business.
walk me through. Like, I don't remember you ever having like a shitty job working for someone or being someone else's something. Like, I always remember you being Korean. So again, setting this up, you were my childhood hero, like still a hero. Walk me through your whole career progression up until in your 40s, really starting now to like live the dream. Because I'm floored to hear that. Like, so you started your first company at what age?
Yeah, well, at 21, 22, basically. Yeah, I had an internship my last year in college, and it was at a modeling agency. It was Elite Modeling Agency in Chicago, and I realized that they were promoting blonde, blue-eyed, tall, skinny models all the time. And I said, wait a minute. The light bulb like kind of went off in my head, and I said, well, what about the Latinas? You know, what about those hot, sexy Latinas with the curves and everything? I go, how come they're not, promoting them? What's going on? So I decided, like, from my internship experience, I just was daring because, when you're 21, you're not afraid of anything. You have no fear. So I graduated from Loyola and I said, you know what? F this. I'm going to start my own agency and I'm going to represent, African American, minority, Latinas, women that are curvy with the dark hair. And it just happened to be that it was really good luck and good timing that Ricky Martin just kind of exploded into the scene of things when it was like, I think he came out with that, one of his songs or something. And he just became popular. Jennifer Lopez did the Selena movie and she was discovered as being this hot, like Latina. And so it happened to be really good timing. So I kind of decided to start my agency. I had Latina models. I did events. I did fashion shows in Chicago. I did a theater showcase, which was held at Loyola, our alma mater school. And, and I just kind of started, my models were in magazines, local magazines in Chicago. They did all kinds of stuff. And, I kind of just went full force, working like more than 40 hours a week. I was young. I had the energy and just kind of went for it. So it worked out great.
It is, it's so funny. This is something that I've been talking a lot about with my clients. This idea of like, in many ways, like in our 40s and maybe late 30s, 40s, this is when people really come into their own, especially as entrepreneurs. Like you work through a lot of that imposter syndrome, and you work through a lot of the fears and doubts and things that, which clearly you're like you didn't have because you were all in, right?
I was
But
all in.
you were all in. But it's like, it seems like on one hand, like people are able to do that now, but on the flip side, there's kids, there's all these things that you have a more balanced life that make you not be able to like go as all out, right? As you would if you were. So again, so I always saw you, I keep bringing this back, like I always saw you as someone who had a purpose, who had clarity. When did you, so like, were you like, this is it? Like I'm going to make Latin Choice Entertainment my life? Like this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this to be this like Uber empire, take over the world? Or did it kind of like evolve into something else?
Yeah, well, I did that for about 4 years. And by the fourth year, I was getting a little bit burnt out because I was kind of putting all my energy into it. And I was noticing that I was also being a mom at a very young age, a mom in the sense that I didn't have kids, but my kids were my models and my actors. And they were immature. They wouldn't show up to the photo shoots, or I'd get the photographer calling me like, oh, your model showed up, but she forgot to bring this, or she's lost. So I had to like handle a lot of situations and grow up really quick. And I think there was a point where I wasn't ready for that. And there was a lot that I still had to learn. So although I was kind of cocky in the sense and thinking that I could take on the world and I can do all this, which was the motivation that really sprung me forward and to, get this business forward. But there came a point where I realized like, wait a minute, this is almost too much for me. So like by the fourth year, I decided like, I don't know if this is going to be bigger than I want it to be, or it's just going to kind of be at a standstill. So I don't know. I decided that maybe I should change direction. It was weird after like 4 years, but I had another agency that was interested in what I did, and they paid me out. They basically came up to me and said, you know what, we like what you're doing, and we're a bigger agency. We're probably able to handle more things. So would you like to kind of, sell us your name and, all the things that you built up, and we'll give you a nice little nest egg. And basically at that point, I was like, oh, this is my way out. And then with this money, I can maybe do something else. So I kind of gave up on it in a sense, because I felt that it was getting to a level where I couldn't handle. I didn't have the education to back it, all this like financial things. I didn't want to invest more money into it where I would maybe get myself into a debt that maybe I was unsure that I'd get out of. So that insecurity towards the end, which I didn't have in the beginning, just started creeping up on me, I think, in that last year, because there was a lot of things I realized that I didn't know that I was doing wrong. So what I decided was, hey, you know what? If somebody wants to buy me out, I'm going to take that money, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest it in my education and learn from those mistakes that I've made with this business, and go and get my MBA, go get a master's in business, so that if I do decide to be an entrepreneur in the future, I won't make those same mistakes, and I'll be more confident in the financial aspect of it. So I did. I kind of closed shop, and I said, I'm going to change my direction. I'm going to go to Florida, move to Florida, and I invested that money in my master's degree, and I also bought a house. So at the age of 26, I was a first-time homeowner, 27 years old, and I purchased my first home. And I was studying in school, and I lived in Florida. And while I was doing that, it's like, then I started asking myself, do I want to do another agency again? Do I want to go in that direction? And I said, nah, you know what? I think I'm going to change gears again. And there was an opportunity to teach at a local university, and it was to teach adult students. And I thought, maybe I should teach these students. So I thought to give myself, I always want to challenge myself, Ron. That's the thing. And I think the goal here is, as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who maybe, is successful in life, is that you really need to challenge yourself on a daily basis. You can't just be complacent and say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to continue doing the same thing. The more you challenge yourself and put yourself in uncomfortable situations, the more you grow. And I think that's true for anybody. And that's the advice I give. Because when I saw this teaching job, I never taught in my life. I never taught anybody. And I'm going to teach university level. Are you kidding me? But there was like an adult program. So on top of it, everybody was like in their 40s going back to like getting their undergrad degree. And I was like this 27, 28-year-old, never taught a class, teaching marketing. And I'm like, okay, what the heck? And, but that's where I kind of discovered my passion for teaching and for coaching. And I realized, you know what? This is like a stage for me. Being a teacher at a university is like a stage. It's my stage, and it's where you can perform. And as you and as I, we both are very similar in that sense. I feel that we're creative people and we need to kind of shine and perform. And if I can't perform on a stage like in Hollywood, well, you know what? The classroom's my stage. And so I really enjoyed it. And I found my kind of passion in teaching, and teaching always university. I never really taught any other high school or anything like that. But I started teaching. And in the meantime, I also kind of interned. I was teaching. I always did multiple things. I'm like kind of, I don't know if you say ADD or just like a nervous person.
Renaissance soul. You're a Renaissance soul. You have a lot of.
I got to do many things.
Yeah,
I got to do many things. It's like I got to take my Ritalin to focus, but I got to do a lot of stuff. But no, I don't take Ritalin. I'm just joking. I should maybe. But anyway, so I worked at MTV too. I was working at MTV as an intern. I was like, oh, MTV, maybe I can go and interview Britney Spears or something. So I worked at MTV for a while, and I did end up interviewing Britney Spears. I did. It was pretty cool.
So I have to ask about that. That's amazing. So of course you did though. This is what you do. But so you said if I can't perform on a Hollywood stage, this is. And it's funny because I by the time that I started teaching college, in my right when I was 30, I started teaching college. I was like, oh, I was in a serious relationship. I was like, oh, I'm gonna settle down, quote unquote, and just I started thinking I'm gonna put this performing thing on the side and bury it and whatever. And I was not in a good place, but I through teaching started performing more. And I would always ask the students what did you like what you learned? What about when we outlined, and did you like how I coached your performance? And they're like, no. But when you talk about your girlfriend, who then became my wife, or your wife, or oh, I love that. Your stories are so funny. And then I was like, oh, okay, there must be business in me performing, So it's it kind of brought me back into it. But this notion of if I can't perform on a Hollywood stage, that hurts my ears a little bit when you say it, because I'm like, no, you can if you wanted it. You specifically, Karyn, and obviously I was telling my daughter, I'm like, you can do anything you want. The catch is you can only do what you want, So did you, why, so that was for me, whoa, really? Did you walk around with that feeling that you couldn't perform on a Hollywood stage? Or did you even want to?
No, it's just that I did try a little bit to, my initial goal originally was not to start a talent agency or anything, but really to be the talent, and not a model or actress or anything like this. But I wanted to be a television reporter. Exactly what you said that you see me as. I wanted to be an entertainment reporter. I wanted to go and work for MTV or Hollywood or something, and interview and be involved in that lifestyle. But I just never got around to it. I mean, I interned at places, but it just didn't work out that way. I studied journalism and communication, so I kind of went towards that direction. But I think I didn't want to work from the bottom all the way up. I was a speeding bullet. I was a comet. I was like Halley's Comet. I wanted to boom, get in there and just blow everybody away. I didn't want to say, okay, well, I'm going to be working in the mailroom for a couple of years. Then I'm going to be doing this. And then, okay, and then maybe. I didn't have the patience. I always feel like my life is running out, even though it's not. I mean, I'm healthy, thank God. But I'm just saying, I always wanted to do a lot of things, by the time I was a certain age. I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I didn't want to work my way up for 10, 20 years until I got the opportunity. So I felt like I would be able to get the opportunity quicker if I did it my own way. So, but I'm seeing that now in my future, my future self talking to my old self, is that it's actually so crazy that what I wanted so much in my 20s to be on television and to be a reporter, I'm actually getting that right now in my 40s. And I feel the reason could be that I'm more experienced, that I have this knowledge now, and people take me seriously. My experience, my knowledge, the way I present myself maybe is different than when I was my young self, So I think people really, really are seeking out. And whenever I go on a TV station, they just like are like blown away. You know, they're like, "Oh my God, we love your energy. We love your charisma." Which I had that in my 20s, but maybe they didn't take me seriously because I was too young. And now I'm older and more mature, but I'm still the same me. Just 20 years later.
This is something we talk about like so much too. Is like, the people that you see that like skyrocket at 19, 20. I always bring up like Adam Sandler, who I think is awesome. I love Adam Sandler, but Adam Sandler is like it's like Coca-Cola. Like it's the same formula as 30 years ago. Like it's or McDonald's. It tastes the same. Like his work now is right. Like and so that's great. Like he is clear about his brand. But from a very early age he like set out to do it, and there was, in my opinion, very little evolution there. Like maybe I'm sure he's evolved as a person. He seems like a great person, but creative output wise, like it's the same kind of shtick, which, and again, I'm a fan. I will pay for it every time. But it's like, I think a lot of people that I've spoken to, especially female entrepreneurs, that evolution process where they are more grounded now and they are more in their voice, that wasn't around 20 years ago for them. So if they had opportunities, they weren't ready for them, and I know for myself, especially, like I stepped up to the plate so many times in my 20s and 30s. Like I created opportunities and just was not ready for it, and just had no backing, no support internally, couldn't deal with stress, couldn't solve problems, and just fell apart. And then like that led me to kind of like, just like almost like peel the onion, right? Like get rid of those layers and then go back and be like, okay, now I only have one thing, like there's one thing at my core, one real desire, one real creative ambition. But like for you, like I feel like I could see that where like you like the more like everything you did wasn't from the ground up, like in the intern sense of like working your way to a PA or whatever, but like you built things from the ground up and you built yourself from the ground up, right? Like you don't come from an entrepreneur family, or do you?
No, I don't. I don't know. I mean, my dad was like, a chef, and my mom was like a homemaker. So, but the drive and ambition, I think maybe you do get sometimes from immigrant parents, because I do see that my dad, left his country to come to America to try and make it. So, he did always give me that kind of support and say, you got to push for what you want, in this world and so forth, because we are first generation Americans. My parents were immigrants. So, you always, I think people who come from immigrant parents, they do give you a certain drive. And then my parents weren't that well off. I mean, they weren't poor, but they always made us work for what we wanted. Oh, you want that Calvin Klein purse? Well, you need to get a job and pay for it yourself, And in college, I mean, I had $10 in my pocket every week, and it's when my friends had their whole university paid. So, but that was awesome because it made me have that drive and ambition and work and, do multiple things at one time just to be able to pay for my things, where I see like nowadays, people are just privileged and then they don't really have that drive because they're so used to whatever they want, they just have, their parents give it to them. So I've worked for everything I've had, and I feel that I want to do that as well for my kids, and give that same kind of message. I want to give them a good life, but I also want them at a certain age and say, hey, you got to get a job, because that's what makes me more driven, or made me more driven.
And put you in the driver's seat, right? Like
yes.
But
yes.
again, it's like I could see that where if you had to, from a very early age, you're like, well, I have to create my own opportunities to get the things I want. It makes sense again that you would create like entrepreneur ventures or challenge yourself, like being a teacher, which is so funny because you're like, you went to business school because there was a deficiency you felt like in your office. I mean, the first, I keep saying office because I keep seeing the image
in my company or my agency,
in your agency, like, and now you're teaching this stuff. That's classic, right? Teach what you need to learn.
It's so funny. It's so funny, yeah.
So you're working at MTV, you're teaching, like where, but this is where I think the story takes like a Cinderella like turn, okay? So what happens next? You're teaching, you're working for MTV, you're interviewing Britney Spears, for fuck's sake. Like, that's amazing. Like, was she cool? Were you like, did you and her bond?
Yeah, she was pretty cool. Yeah, because I worked in the marketing department. So it was like, we got to do all of these like promotional contests. And one of the contest winner who came from Latin America won to be able to, we would have to invite them to come to the country, to come to Miami, to go see Britney Spears, to have the backstage passes. So I was like the reporter finally, and we picked up at the airport airport, in Miami airport, in a limousine, this, 21-year-old boy. He was like so excited, from Colombia, didn't even speak English. And we picked him up, and here's me, with the microphone and the cameras, and like, oh, here we are with the winner of the contest. And now we're going to the Britney Spears concert. And, we had the limousine, we get in the car, then we meet Britney. Britney was super cool. Her concert was amazing. We had like front row seats, and then we had backstage passes. Yeah, totally chatting it up with Britney. So, those are the kind of fun stuff I did. And it was really, really exciting to be able to do all that kind of stuff. And that's where I realized, hey, I need to be in this kind of like atmosphere. I love this, as well as teaching I love too, but still it's the whole entertainment Hollywood lifestyle that I still love, Yeah. Although now I live in Spain, so there's no Hollywood in Spain, but
well, you haven't created it yet. Karyn,
I haven't created it. But I will tell you, and that's what's so ironic, is that I've like made it so much further in a country that's not even mine, in a language that's not even my native language, because yes, I speak Spanish because my parents are Spanish, but it's still not my first language. I always say I'm way funnier in English than I am in Spanish.
Well,
I tell everybody else.
You speak Chicagoese, right? Chicagoanese.
Yeah, Chicagoese, I got the Chicago accent, So it's like, and here people are requesting me all the time to be on their shows and to do stuff in Spanish, which I think I suck in Spanish, but apparently they love it that I suck in Spanish. They think it's funny. So so that's the thing.
How did you get to Spain though? This is the part that I love. Like, how did you go from you're living your best life, right? You're interviewing Britney Spears, front row center, and then how do you go from there to Spain? Like, what this is?
I know. Well, this is, it's the love story, Ron. It's the love story. Then I meet my, amazing, Spanish, Latino husband. And I met him through a friend, and then he convinced me, to move to Spain. But before the convincing, it took a long time. I mean, he would woo me by taking me to different countries around the world. It was a beautiful romance. We would go and say, oh, next weekend, I bought you tickets to meet me in Paris at the Louvre, So, I would go and like hop on a plane and live this lifestyle and go to Paris for a weekend. The following weekend, we'd go to Brussels, So I visited all of Europe, and he convinced me, and he would, have me stay in beautiful castles that were built in the 18th century and all these things. And now he doesn't take me anywhere.
But I do have to say, he's still way too good looking though. I gotta put this out there. That man is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's a cutie. So and it was a love story. So I kind of had to give up everything, my MTV lifestyle, my teaching night classes, and the whole thing to just kind of was a big decision. That was the biggest decision in my life I think I had to make, because I had to give up my house, my jobs, and my family and friends, like especially you too. So, and then I had to and move to another country where I never lived in Spain. I mean, I visited when I was a kid, but I never really lived here. So, but I decided to take the plunge because I feel like in life, you got to hop on that train when the train comes by, and and you have to make these decisions, and it's going to be a lifestyle change, and it might be uncomfortable, like I said, but you got to make do with it. And that's why I keep saying that you got to do these things, these challenges that life gives you. And, in this case, it was for love. And I voted for the love train. I said, hey, I'm going to get on the love train. Why not? And I look back and I say, God, obviously my life would have been so different, but I am happy with my life. And I have 3 beautiful children to, brag about. And the success that I've had in Europe, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have been even more successful in America, but right now I'm pretty damn happy with the stuff I've been doing. So
yeah, what have you been doing? Tell me everything. Like, break it down, because this is like, again, this is like the most like success story I know. I love this.
So I'm doing like 3 things, like multiple things. So one of them I think you know about. I'm still an entrepreneur always at heart. So I have a side business where I'm still doing, and it's where I send students to America. Where it's like, it's a higher education agency where I send students to Spanish students, European students who want to study in the States, and they want to study with a academic or a sports scholarship to study in the US in college or university. So I do that, but I'm kind of like disconnected from that a little bit. I have one person who's handling it, and I'm kind of like the stakeholder, and I just collect the money and they run the show because I've got it to that level where I don't want to deal with it. So, but it was a good idea. It's a great concept. And I send about 3 to 5 students. It's very small. It's small business, 3 to 5 students a year. And, I just kind of collect the income on that one, which is a good one. And then the other two, which are my passion, the ones I'm focusing mostly on, are the coaching, which I'm coaching executives here, multinational companies in Spain, in English and in Spanish. So it's kind of come in handy that I can use both of my talents, both languages, to be able to do that. And it makes me more marketable here because people sometimes, companies hire me because I'm American and they want that American mindset. They want that American lingo and everything else. So they'll hire me because of that. And then other companies that don't care about my English, they hire me because they like me in Spanish. So I'll coach in Spanish as well. So I've been coaching one-to-one clients now. With the pandemic, it's been a lot online, as you know. We've gone a lot, remotely. But I work for companies and I travel around Spain mostly. Coaching at different companies and mostly communications related, whether it's helping them with persuasive techniques for sales, how to communicate their message about their products and services, all of those things to help them, because believe it or not, Ron, in this country, they never taught public speaking in any of the schools. So it's like golden for me. I can work in every sector because nobody knows how to speak. They don't. They know how to speak, but they don't know how to communicate their products and services. It's really bad. So they always say, I never did public speaking. They should teach it in the schools. They never did. So you'll see a 50-year-old man who was a CEO of a company, and he gets nervous and starts stuttering or saying filler words when he's trying to talk to his, directors and employees in the company. And it's embarrassing for him. So, I help them get over that fear and to be able to get a clear message out, whether it's in Spanish or English. So it's very helpful. And then I work also with regards to, I'm still teaching. I'm still a university professor, and I'm a traveling professor. So I go to Seville, Granada, all different, Madrid, and I work at like 3 different universities. Like I teach one course here for 6 weeks. I teach another course for 3 months somewhere else. It's like chaotic. So I'm working at like 3 different universities. So yeah.
Wow. I love your life. You are like the rock star of public speaking coaching, like you're living the dream.
Oh
Are those
my God.
places far, like Seville, Granada, like are those places far from where
Not
you're at?
really. It's all part of Andalusia, and Andalusia would be like, it's just neighboring cities. So everything's about an hour and a half to 2 hours away. So I live in Malaga, and 2 hours away would be Seville, and another 2 hours the other way would be Granada. So they're all pretty close. Europe is so small. Spain is so small. It's like the size of Florida. Just the whole country is like the size of Florida. So, so you really can get around very easily. But so I've been coaching, and then in the meantime, I do all these like social, media stuff. Like I'll go on television, on the local TV. I'll collaborate on the radio, talking about topics. Like for example, for Valentine's Day, I talked about how to know if your your boyfriend or girlfriend really truly loves you or not. And then I talk about the nonverbal communication cues that are involved. Everything's communication related. So it'll be like nonverbal and all that. But I will tell you my goals. My goals for 2022 is I have to rock a TEDx. I am dying to do a TEDx.
No way. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a that sounds
That's a
really
goal. That's a goal.
yeah.
I'm going to start, I'm writing up my topic, and it's going to be relating like nonverbal communication, because I find that to be what interests most people. Everybody's so interested in that. They want to know, like, how do I know if somebody's lying to me? How do I know if somebody really loves me? How do I look better and sound better, like physically, in nonverbal communication? What kind of cues am I giving out? So everybody loves all that stuff. Like they love it. So I figure that's going to be the most, interesting topic. And I'm going to apply to a couple TEDx's in the US as well as in Spain, in Spanish and in English, and we'll see. So that's like my next big goal. And if I reach that goal, Ron, I could die happy because I've reached so many goals already with TV, radio, all that. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Oh my God, you are legit, and I'm throwing my resume in the ring right now. If you need help,
Yes.
if you want coaching, you're a public speaking coach. You don't need coaching, but I'm just saying,
Yes.
I'm throwing my head in the ring if you want support for the speech. Just
We
putting it
need
out
to
there.
do a show. You and I, we need to like go on the road, and like do like I don't know. We got to do something. I'm thinking, if there wasn't a pandemic, but I think it would be like you, me, and maybe two other people, like the four of us do like a stand up or something. I would love that.
I do. I would bring the guitar and I'll bring the full show to
Yes.
Spain. I want to do. This is my goal is to go to, like I said, take a flight economy premium, uh, or premium economy sounds better. Premium economy to Europe
No,
and to
you are
do.
going to be taking 1 day first class. That's what you got to put on there.
No,
Your
I
first
know
class
that's
ticket.
that I know,
Mhm.
but you know what happened? I just recently looked at it and I was looking at business class and I was like, I just, like I don't want to. I'm gonna bring my own food anyway, so like I was like,
I
I don't
bring
want
my
to
own
pay for
food.
that. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to pay for that.
But
But
you're paying for the leg room. You're paying for the leg room. I mean, you get all that space.
100%. But like, I was like, yeah, I'm fine with the premium economy, especially if it's not like from here to Australia. You know what I mean? Like here
Yeah,
to
that's a
Spain,
bad one.
here to
Yeah.
Spain, like I premium economy, I'm in heaven. I'm like, only pay 2 grand, I'm okay. The point is this.
Okay.
So I want to leave with this thought. So
Mhm.
like in your experience, I love what you're doing. I love how you really like came into your own. And it makes sense. Like everything you're doing now, it just seems like such a great extension of what you set out to do. But the world changed, and you
Mhm.
adapted, and you pivoted. Like you pivot better than anyone. See, I know you dance beautifully. Like you're a great dancer, great pivoter. Um, so, like, with regards, and this is really cool, and this is the last kind of big question I have for you. With regards to, you said how people promote themselves and their products and their services, their offerings. What do you find is like, in a way, like, is the best way to do that? Like, where people struggle, what is the thing that you found that helps them the most be able to kind of fluidly and with flow and with freedom, just kind of be like, this is it. This is what I do, and here's how it benefits you. Like, how do you teach people to do that?
I think it really starts with changing your mindset. I think that's the key, because people start out already saying negative thoughts to themselves, like this negative self talk. They're like, yeah, because I'm never going to be a good speaker, because I don't talk so good, because I don't do this well. And and I say, stop. You got to start just changing that whole mindset. And I really think that's the key is to start thinking positive and kind of what you had said, just being able to, grasp and take on that confidence that you really need to have and like acknowledging the fact that you're a badass or whatever it is, because really that confidence is what's going to make you improve. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. So I always tell people to start with, I say, this is what I give them this advice. I say, all right, before you're going to present or you're going to speak in front of people or a meeting or whatever it is, you got 20 minutes to lock yourself in a room wherever you're at in your home or whatever, to just say all the bad things that you think about yourself and all the bad things that could possibly happen during your presentation that you're going to have to give the next day or whatever. 20 minutes, that's it. Once you finish all of that negative self-thought, I said, then now you're going to change the page and you're going to only think positive thoughts. You're going to think you're going to be the bomb. You're going to be awesome. You're going to make people laugh. They're going to be excited when you tell them about your products and services, all of those things. But you're not allowed to ever think again after those 20 minutes, any negative self-talk. So I tell them to do that exercise as something that, just leave that in that room and that's it. And the next time you step out, you're only thinking positive stuff. So, I think it's changing the mindset. It's also obviously the cliche of saying practicing, but it's not really a cliche because when you practice, good speakers aren't born, they're actually made. So I feel like, the more you practice, the better you get at it. So you really have to take that time and that energy to really work at it. So that's another advice I give.
I love you so much, Karyn. Like this is such good advice, and I love. I never thought to do it that way. Clearing, I think, is so important. I talk about clearing all the time. Where writing out all. I literally before we got on the call, I wrote some really nasty shit about myself, about like dating stuff. Like literally, I was like, oh okay, gotta go talk to Karyn now. But but I love the idea of locking yourself in a room and just saying it, just putting it out
Yeah,
there.
just saying what an idiot you are. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I suck. I'm never going to be good at the 20 minutes. That's it. When the alarm rings, you're done. You walk out of that room and you are a new person. And now you're not allowed to think anymore about that.
And you're
You know?
lighter, right? Like you've taken that burden
Yeah, like
off.
you
Because
got it off your chest. Because if you don't do that, it's still like eating you up inside and still trying to creep out. So you want to just get it out, so that you could start fresh. So I really suggest that always.
Karyn, I want to be you when I get younger. Like because you don't age. It's astounding.
It's the Latin genes. It's being Spanish. It's Latina. We have that good like skin.
I know. It's stunning. It's stunning skin. I'm so proud of you, Karyn. You
Well,
are like
wait,
a true
I mean,
inspiration.
it's good lighting too. I will say it's good lighting. So maybe if it's worse lighting, maybe not so much.
Karyn, how do
It's
people,
good.
if people, and people really should, like, I want, like, people need to go to you for all sorts of communication, nonverbal, sales training, public speaking, like, please, what is the best way to connect with you wherever you are in the world? Connect with Karyn. She will change your life. What's the best way to connect with you?
Yes, connect with me for sure. I'll give you a free consultation and you can go to my website, KarynSuarez.com. But since my name is confusing, I'll spell it out for you. Karyn Suarez.com. So there you go. They could reach
And
me that way. Or
I'll
reach
have a
me
link.
through you, Ron.
Yeah, but I mean, like, like, they should go to the source.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a chance to meet Karyn, oh my God, like, your life will change. Possibilities will start arising. But yeah, I'll have a link to KarynSuarez.com over here. And Karyn, I just
Yes.
adore you. I just do it. Virtual international hug.
Virtual hug, Ron. Love you.